Swain, touchdown.
It's time for the Swain Event with your host, Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Give me to his house and a Ric Flair.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. It is Tuesday, September the 5th. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I am Jason Swain. I'm live here in the Low T Center studio. Ben McKee, looking good this morning, man. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jay Swizzle. Trying to look good like you look good, especially down there on the sideline of Nissan Stadium. I hope you're well this morning.
Hey, man, Tennessee's 1-0, buddy.
Yes, college football is well underway. It was almost a picture-perfect weekend for Tennessee fans because not only did Tennessee win, they can snicker at other schools as well. And then, obviously, the Steelers begin their Super Bowl run on Sunday. It is a great week.
Everyone begins their Super Bowl run this week in the NFL, Ben. Everyone.
Correct,
but yeah, man.
But I don't care about everyone else.
I know you
Aside from I do have a rooting interest in the Bears, and I hope the Titans do well. But aside from them,
I thought the Titans hate the Vols. Ain't that what's been going around?
no, they don't hate the Vols. They spit in the face of the Vols.
Goodness gracious, boy. We are in mid-season mode, ain't we? With some of our hot takes. My goodness, man. Can we just enjoy some football? It always got to be some mess. Always got to be some drama. Let's just enjoy football. We've been waiting months on this season to start, and it's finally here. Let's not create silly narratives. Ben McKee, Tennessee gets the win on Saturday versus a Virginia team that, quite frankly, just wasn't that good. It just wasn't that good at all. 49-13. Personnel-wise, they are severely lacking. They're insufficient when it comes to competing at a high level in college football. Tennessee came out, handled business, first possession, but hit some walls offensively. And this is how offense is so different than defense. Offense is more about, chemistry and timing and, being in sync. And this is why you see scrimmages that take place in fall camp. The defense is usually ahead because it doesn't take all that. Well, in the first half, Tennessee's offense was out of sync at times. Execution wasn't where you need to be. But the defense, boy. The front seven was handling business, winning one-on-one matchups, getting to the quarterback. But, Ben, give me some things that stood out to you. I know it's Tuesday. Tennessee plays Austin Peay on Saturday, but we can keep talking about what happened on Saturday. We good.
We can. And unfortunately, the nature of a Tuesday and Thursday show is that this Tuesday is the first time that we get a chance to talk about what happened on Saturday. So just kind of is what it is. But there were kind of three main things that have stuck with me since Saturday. The first being that the running backs are better than I thought, and I don't really know how that's possible because I already thought that they were going to be really, really good. They managed to exceed all expectations. Like I expected Jalen Wright to start and have a big game. I expected Jabari Small to do some nice things, Dylan Sampson to do some nice things. I did not expect them to look that good. They look like one of the best running back rooms in the country on Saturday. So I was very, very impressed by them. I was also very impressed by the defense, especially that front seven. I mean, Tennessee's defensive line absolutely mauled Virginia's offensive line, and I think that is as good of an encouraging sign as you can have if you're a Tennessee fan coming out of the opener, especially when you had just watched Florida's offensive line get bullied by Utah on Thursday night, and you turned around after beating Virginia on Saturday and watched South Carolina's offensive line pee down its leg against a North Carolina defense that had questions about it coming into the season. So I think projecting ahead a little bit, I mean, Tennessee's defensive front, that they should be able to handle business quite a bit in those upcoming SEC games to round out September. But I was very, very impressed by the defensive line. Hard not to be impressed by James Pierce and Tyler Barron. Omar Norman Lott just explodes off the ball. And Amari Thomas obviously doing his thing, and there's others as well. We could go on and on and on, but everybody who appeared in the front seven for the most part was very, very impressive. And I think they are in for a big season. And then on the opposite side of the trenches, kind of my last sticking point that has stuck with me since Saturday is the offensive line. And they are further along than I anticipated. And I think that is also a good sign of things to come, because that is a Virginia front that we talked about on Thursday that returned several players from last season. And they were going to be a nice test because they had experience, and Tennessee handled that test well. And at 247 Sports on our podcast, we talked to a Virginia writer, and she said going in that she felt like the defensive line for Virginia was one of the better defensive lines in the ACC, which may not be saying much when you watch what Clemson did last night, but still there's 12, 14 teams in that league this season. And that is a veteran, experienced, better defensive line unit in the ACC. And I thought for an offensive line that is missing Cooper Mays and is rotating guys at a couple of different spots, they were further ahead than I anticipated.
Yeah, you mentioned the defensive line and how we'll fare here the next couple of weeks, especially in the month of September. I mean, South Carolina gave up 9 sacks versus North Carolina, and Florida gave up 5 sacks versus Utah. So there's an opportunity for Tennessee to get to the quarterback, affect the quarterback, and create some turnovers. That was the one thing defensively that we did not do that I know that every defense wants to do, and that's create turnovers and flip the field and, turn defense into instant offense. Let's get a pick six. Let's get a scoop and score. Did not do that. And so this defense was great, but that's something that every defense wants to do. It was fun to see, Kenan Peely fly around, make plays, play intelligent, play smart. Aaron Beasley was Aaron Beasley from the Orange Bowl. He was fun. I didn't think the secondary got many challenges outside of one deep pass. I think Gabe Giuliani was on the coverage. Too much space off the release. It was a good throw. Don't get me wrong. It's inside release on a go route, which is a really difficult throw to make. So you give credit to the quarterback, receiver, but at the same time, if you gave Julie Lally, you don't want to give up that play. But that was really the only play I saw defensively where we gave up a big-time explosive play where I kind of stumped my feet a little bit and was like, come on, man. But all in all, man, the defensive performance was spectacular. Special teams, it got to be better. There's no doubt about it. There's no sugarcoating it. Had a couple kickoffs that went out of bounds. You had 2 shank punts. That has to be cleaner. But D. Williams was great outside of the fumble, but he was a weapon, man. I'm glad that Heupel was asked a question about D. Williams being used in other places besides as a punt returner, maybe on offense. And Josh Heupel just nipped that in the bud real quick, because I was thinking the same thing. Actually, I was thinking the same thing all season from what he did last season, and the fact that he's not really in the rotation frequently at secondary. He reminds me, I want to say we brought this up on this show, or Josh and Swain, but D. Williams reminds me of Devin Hester, because Yes, he's electric. Don't get me wrong. But Hester never really had a true position where he was comfortable playing. He was a DB at Miami, started off at DB with Chicago Bears, and then in 2007 moved to wide receiver. It just never really happened for him on offense or defense, but he was a weapon on special teams, and D. Williams reminds me of that so much because we haven't seen him at corner, but we've seen him at punt returner. Ben, every opener, when there's questions about the quarterback, what he's going to do, it really doesn't matter sometimes what the quarterback does. There's going to be some overreaction. There's going to be some over-analysis. And it seems like that was the case a little bit with Joe Milton. So, we'll take our first break of the day. We'll come back. We'll talk Joe Milton. Joe Milton wasn't the only person who played on Saturday, but understand how polarizing the quarterback position is, especially here at the University of Tennessee. So we'll take our first break. You listen to the Swain Event, fueled by Daddy and Barbecue, and then talk Joe Milton, man. How did he do? I got a grade for you. I'll give you that grade. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Hey, Knoxville, we all know the importance of mental health. Most people don't have regular mental health care. They often wait. Let's change that. Isn't it time we all consider our mental health as important as our physical health? If you are ready, Mind Body Wellness in Knoxville can help you design a plan for your mental wellness. We are accessible, affordable, and available. You are worth it. Visit mindbodyknoxville.com to schedule a mental wellness assessment today. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Hey, Vol Nation. This is Charlie Pratt, financial representative with Modern Woodman and MWA Financial Services. Modern Woodman has been touching lives and securing futures for 140 years. Being born and raised here in East Tennessee, I'm honored to help East Tennesseans in all phases of life with retirement planning, investments, and life insurance. A big win on Saturday starts with preparation early in the week. A secure financial future starts with planning today. Contact my office today at 865-919-6468 to review your financial plan and make sure you are on track for success. As always, go Vols.
Registered representative and investment advisor, representative offering securities and advisory services through NWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodman of America, member of FINCRA, SIPC.
Good morning, Swain Event family. Take a deep breath in and release. We're all back together in the AM and life is good. If you have real estate needs, just give me a call, Jennifer Morris, at 865-257-7897 or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com. And go Vols.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. First home game in Knoxville this weekend, so make sure you get yourself over to Dead End Barbecue. A little weird game time for an Austin Peay type of game, which gives you plenty of time before the game to get over the Dead End Barbecue. And if you are spending the night, which because of the game time, you may want to, the next day, hey, you need to get over there at Dead End Barbecue. Top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. All right, Ben. Joe Milton talked about more than any other quarterback, it seems, in the SEC this offseason. I mean, just weird. But we know about his big arm. We know about his personality. He was talked about more than anybody else. What's your grade, Joe Milton?
B plus. I thought he was good. He was good.
Yeah.
I think there's been too much conversation about Joe Milton coming out of the opener, and I don't understand why we're grading him on this scale of having to be perfect on every single rep, every single snap. That's at least what it feels like to me. Maybe I'm misinterpreting social media's reaction, message board reactions, or just simple conversation, but it seems like everybody expects Joe to throw a 60-yard touchdown every time he drops back to throw the football, and that's not going to happen. I thought he was good, maybe even really good on Saturday. I'm all for a quarterback who doesn't turn the football over and makes great decisions, and he looked like he had a great feel for operating the offense, and he looked like a quarterback back there, which is what we saw at the tail end of last season as well. But that's not what we saw when he first got to Tennessee. He is a completely different person and quarterback now. He's no longer an athlete playing the position. He is truly a quarterback now. He has developed into a really, really good quarterback, in my opinion. And I thought he was good on Saturday. Obviously not perfect, but no quarterback is perfect. Not even Patrick Mahomes is going to be perfect this upcoming season. But it feels like Joe is on this grading scale of having to be perfect, and I guess that's a separate conversation. But as Saturday, just looking at Saturday, I thought he was good. I mean, he had one true inaccurate throw, and that was the one on third down to, I think it was Brew, and it was kind of maybe a little behind, if I remember correctly, to Brew, and
he had
got
another
tipped
one
up
that was
in the
high.
air.
Yeah, he had a couple he had a high throw to the perimeter.
Yeah. Yep. I'm remembering that one now too. And then there was a moment, I'm curious to get your perspective, because obviously you know football better than I do, but the one going towards the north end zone, going towards the checkerboards, Dante running down the seam.
Yeah.
It seems like he threw it a little too late to Dante and didn't give Dante much of a chance there in the back of the end zone. Kind of gave Dante a tight window, it looked like, because he saw him a little late there on that particular throw. But I also didn't know from a receiver perspective, if you know the play that I'm referencing, if Dante did not do something particular there to help Joe out.
Yeah. I'll touch on that for sure. So I gave Joe a B yesterday on Josh and Swain. I'm cool with the B plus. I'm cool with that. You're right. It's hard to be perfect at the quarterback position in any given game. Joe was 21 for 30. He had a touchdown drop. He had another touchdown where a receiver didn't get his foot in, and that was inches. I was standing right there. Brew did a good job of catching it, trying to get that foot in bounds, but the ref was on it. It was the right call. There was some contact. I know Heupel was stating his case about that, but it was a good rep by both players. Brew was just out of bounds. So those are two passes right there where if we were able to make those plays, Joe is 23 for 30, 300 yards. And
maybe the offense doesn't go into a lull there midway through the first half if Ramel doesn't drop that football.
Yeah, and I'll tell you about miscues and mishaps. You throw in drops, fumbles, missed assignments. They're contagious. They are contagious. Good plays are contagious. You know, you have basketball where, man, the shots are rolling. You're making them. Defense, you're playing good. You go on a run, 20-0 run. Like, it's contagious. Good plays are contagious, and bad plays are contagious. And no different in football. So I'm not sitting here blaming Ramel Keaton for all the mishaps on offense there in the first half, but I am sharing with you that when one person doesn't make a play, then it kind of plays into the next person not making a play, and it's contagious. I'm glad that Joe Milton went back to Ramel. Ramel had an opportunity to make a catch, pick up the first down, get hit, and shake whatever that bothered him on that drop off, and then play the next play. Joe had command. He was not in a hurry. The check down of Dylan Sampson on fourth down, I think, kind of proves that fact. He didn't try to force it into the end zone. It was a good throw, throwing it to his upfield shoulder, allowing him to go forward and not have to turn around. Usually you see quarterbacks make an inaccurate throw, throwing it to the bubble, throwing it to running back on the flare, and they throw it to the wrong shoulder, making the running back or receiver turn around, just giving the defense enough time to close and make a tackle. So it may not seem like a big-time accurate throw, but like it was a touchdown. And Dylan Sampson had to run around the defender to score. What if that ball was inaccurate? That defender's in a better position to make that tackle on Dylan Sampson. So I thought that was a really good play by Joe. Joe was decisive in his running. There was a lane, no one open. He ran, and he finished runs. It's something that he was criticized for 2021, being big but not running big. He ran big on Saturday, stiff arming, falling forward. That was
did
cool.
That DB retire yet? We need to get Jay Wade in here. Does that DB need to retire after Saturday after taking that Derrick Henry stiff arm to the face?
No, he needs a moment of self-reflection for sure. The throw you're talking about to Dante Thornton, I watched it a couple times, and let's keep in mind that these guys are playing for the first time together. That was their first game on Saturday. When you're in the red zone, everything speeds up, and there's less room. So decisions have to be made quick. In the shotgun, you got to get your hands on the ball. If you are a guy that throws with the threads or with the seam or with the laces, whatever, then you got to get your hands on the ball as quick as possible because you got a guy in Thornton who's fast. Like, you got to go. I felt like the initial window to throw that ball for Joe, I think he missed the initial window. And that would have been a ball that had to kind of be lofted over the head. Like, it has to be over the top, outside shoulder, and it has to be thrown, like, perfectly in that window. For whatever reason, Joe missed that window. And it was a tight window, like 0.5 seconds. It was really tight. But I thought Joe did a good job of the ball placement after missing that initial window, which is now a back shoulder throw. Could have been a little bit higher, I'm sure, yeah. But back shoulder throws are successful when you have a quarterback and a receiver that they have chemistry. They have a history together. They know what each other's thinking. That's going to come in time with Joe and Thornton. That is a play that could have been made. Maybe should have been made. I think when they look at the film, they'll sit down, they'll chit-chat, they'll talk, share what each other is thinking. That was a play that could have been made. But I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, my God, Joe, what a terrible throw. No, like, I understand. You're running a seam. It's tight coverage. That angle is not the easiest angle to throw it. Like Jacob Warren's touchdown, Jacob Warren was bending in. That's a better angle. Joe is trying to throw it over the defender, over the shoulder of Thornton with the back end line of the end zone, and you're in the red zone and everything speeds up. That's not the easiest. And it's understandable not to be pinpoint accurate first game of the year playing with a guy you never played before in the game. So that's how I break that down. I thought Joe did a really good job. I don't know what folks are looking at during the game when you got comments on the quarterback or you got comments on a certain player. Like, Joe did his thing. There's always throws you wish you could have back. But I want to bring up something, Ben, because I remember It was a Monday. It was a Monday after a nail-biting victory for Tennessee last year. And it was a victory that you're glad that you won, but you knew that Tennessee's offense did not play well at all in that football game. And that was last year being versus Pitt. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember. Defense had to bail the offense out in that one.
Hendon Hooker was 27 for 42. Had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that's always good, not turning the football over. Cedric Tillman had 9 catches for 162 yards, but he had 15 or so targets. And early in that game, Hendon was throwing so many inaccurate balls to Tillman. Maybe he was hyped up. For whatever reason, the passing game just wasn't clicking. It was actually worse than it was on Saturday. My point is, that was early in the season. That was the first Power 5 non-conference game. That was the second game of the season. You played, Ball State the first game. And then what happened in the third game of the season? Ben, you remember that Florida game?
Was Florida the third game?
Yeah.
Whether it was or not, they exploded. The offense went off.
The offense was better.
It was better. It wasn't mid-season form, but it was better. It took a nice step in the right direction.
Yeah. We scored 34 versus Pitt. We scored 38 versus Florida. And we had a fumble in the red zone. We had a couple drives where we're stalled out because we didn't make plays. We only scored 38 points. Defense learned a lesson about finishing the game. Remember, Florida was one play away from winning that game. It took an interception on a deep pass from Richardson for us to seal that deal. But Florida was driving about to win the game.
Everybody in that stadium and everybody watching on TV just knew that Florida was going to find a way to pull a rabbit out of their hat and win that football game.
Yeah. So, here's my point. It took Tennessee 3 games last year offensively to get things going. And you still was popping 34 points, 38 points. And the offense had some moments in the first 3 games last year, excuse me, that you saw on Saturday versus Virginia. Offense takes a little bit longer. It takes a little bit more time because guys have to be on the same page. You got to be thinking the same. And then the next game, remember the next game, Ben? That was at LSU. That's when the offense, that's when the defense, that's when special teams all came together. That was the first game of that season. Last season, and my bad, Florida was the 4th game. But the 5th game of the season was when the offense was clicking. The 5th game, man. 5th game. And that's what it's all about here. It's about being 1-0 each week while getting better. That's what it's about.
And that's what Josh Heupel teams do best. They continue to get better. They are ready for every football game, and they get better week to week. And it's because you hear Josh Heupel several times throughout the season. He says it at least once a week, if not many times more, publicly about how the best teams get better each and every week. And he harps on that to his team. And last year's team got better as the season went on. Year 1, the team got better as the season went on. And I think this team is going to continue to get better and better. And I think you really have to like Tennessee's chances of having success in the month of September after watching this weekend. There was already confidence in the month of September, but I think you got to feel really good about that Florida and South Carolina game coming up, watching those 2 teams play. I know we need to hit a break here. I'm curious when we come back after this break, 2 thoughts on the offense still. One, what was your assessment of the receivers? Because obviously Josh Heupel said post-game that he didn't feel like the skill position players got into a rhythm. And I think he was talking more about the receivers and maybe the tight ends than the running backs because the running backs played well. So your assessment of the receivers, and then Joe Milton taking deep shots. There was the one that Ramel dropped, And then there was, if we want to call it a deep shot, the one to Brew in the end zone where it barely was out of bounds. I mean, he kind of pushed the ball downfield on that one. There weren't as many deep shots as there have been maybe the last 2 years. Do you think that's a one-off, or do you think that's something you're keeping your eye on moving forward to see if Joe gets back to pushing the ball down the field on a more regular basis like we've seen in this Tennessee offense the past 2 seasons?
Yeah, I'll definitely get to that, Ben, man. Good question there. Let's get to the phones before we take a brief time out. Good morning. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, buddy, it's Rusty.
What's up, Rusty, man? Early morning in Cali.
Just having a little coffee. About to head to the gym, but had to get you guys in first.
Oh, man, thanks for the call, man. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, man. Yeah, with that Akron game, we kind of got it going a little bit. But then the Florida game, it was a struggle. We had the Fant fumble, and it was really the last drive of the first half before we got anything really consistent going in the Florida game. Whenever picked up a 3rd and 10 from like our own 8-yard line, then we hit the bomb to Keaton, where Keaton made the catch of the year probably. So yeah, we were still struggling at least through the Florida game to be really, really consistent. You're totally right.
It takes time. Man, it takes time offensively. And, yeah, we scored 63 versus Akron, but think about how –
That's Akron, yeah.
Think about how inconsistent we played on Saturday versus Virginia. And 2 plays, and you got 63 points. On top of how inconsistent we played in other areas of the game offensively. So, like, sometimes without D. Williams' fumble on the punt, we have the ball another possession on like their 32-yard line. Yeah, like Tennessee easily could have hit 70 on Saturday. That's how bad Virginia was and how great Tennessee's defense was. But like, you're real close. But again, to expect Tennessee to be in midseason form offensively in the first game is unrealistic. You're setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. And some of the criticism that I've seen of Joe, y'all, it wasn't the same we saw for Hendon Hooker when Hendon had his performance against Pitt. They are identical. And actually, Joe was better than Hendon.
There's this belief out there, though, guys, that Hooker never made a bad pass. That Hooker never was off target ever. I've heard people say that on the pass to Keaton that was dropped, that Joe underthrew it and that caused the drop. And I'm like, do you remember the touchdown pass, the first touchdown pass of the Kentucky game to Hyatt when Hyatt was by himself?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
Hooker intentionally underthrew the ball because he's like, I can underthrow it and it's still a touchdown. It's the safer throw to underthrow it a little bit, and Hyatt had to wait on it, and he still could have backpedaled into the end zone.
Rusty.
Yeah, you're right.
It's people were trying to blame Joe Milton for Ramel Keaton's drop.
Yes.
Oh my!
Because not a lot, but there were some saying that he underthrew. I think Chip Payne sums it up well on the text box, and Vol and Birmingham touched on it as well. Chip Payne said, I think there are people out there who already have an opinion of him regardless of what he does because he's simply not Hendon and what we got from Joe his first year. People need to stop being closed-minded. I think Chip Payne hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of them made statements that year too, and they don't want to be wrong if he ends up being good.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, sounds
good. The touchdown, the pass that could have been a touchdown pass to Thornton. I said to people that were around at the watch party out here, he was a half a heartbeat late on when he should have. He hitched a little bit and then threw it. And if he'd have thrown it during the hitch, I think he probably gives Thornton a better chance. But the safety vacated and went to the opposite hash. Can you know better than anybody? Can Thornton bend that route to the middle more, almost like turning it into a post as an option? Does he have the freedom to not keep it as a seam and turn it into a skinny post or something like that right there? Because it feels like it would have been a much easier play if he had been it when the safety vacated.
I don't know his reads. Sometimes these guys have option routes. I don't know if he had that freedom. That is a tough angle to make that throw, which is why I think
the window's tiny.
Yeah, trying to throw it over the top and the back of the end zone's right there. I thought Joe did a good job of throwing the back shoulder after he missed that small window to throw it. And that's a tough window. You mentioned the hitch. Yeah. But then after that, he tried to throw the back shoulder. And maybe he could throw a little bit higher because Thornton is 6'4", 6'5", and could have made that play. But if you're Thornton, man, you got to flip those hips. You got to flip those shoulders and expect that back shoulder throw. And I think that play between those two will come with time. And again, this is the first game together.
Yeah, a lot of times if Thornton just puts the brakes on and waits on the ball right there, he gets the PI. He probably doesn't catch it, but the defensive back runs him over.
Yeah.
The best pass of the ball game, in my opinion, was the deeper pass on 2nd and 22 to Ramel. It looks like it was underthrown, but if from the wider view of it, the safety was deeper, and throwing it over top of the corner that was trailing and in front of the safety was the perfect place for that ball. And honest, you don't pick up 2nd and 22 deep balls very often in that kind of window. I thought that was his best throw of the ball game, and it was one where he couldn't use all of his arm. He had to throw it into an area about 35, 40 yards downfield. I felt like everything was about as good as it could be for a first day. I don't know.
Good first day.
I didn't see anything that I thought was wrong. I wished on the 4th and 1 we would have just snuck the ball when Joe was under center instead of handing it off deep to Small. I guess that would be my biggest complaint of the day is if you're going to go for it on 4th and 1 on your own side of the field, just lean on them instead of handing it off deep.
Yeah, hindsight.
I was thinking the same thing in that moment, Rusty, and appreciate the phone call, my friend.
Yeah, man. Y'all be good. Love y'all.
Hope you and the family have a great week out there. I was thinking the same thing on that 4th and 1. I'm always pro QB sneak, but game 1 against a Virginia team that you know you're going to beat down, I don't mind limiting the hits on your quarterback in this particular one. And Josh Heupel said after the game that they didn't get it blocked up right away. 2 guys came free, not even touched. So maybe if the blocking scheme is executed the way it's supposed to be, maybe that play results in a different situation, and Tennessee picked up the first down.
865-255-03. Thanks for the phone call, Rusty. Being asked a question about receiver play, deep shots. We'll touch on that when we come back from break. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
And you know this, man.
Here in Knoxville, we love it when a squirrel's in the checkerboards. But when there's a squirrel in our attic, that's all sides. When that happens, call Alpha Wildlife. They're Knoxville's veteran-owned and operated wildlife removal company. When unwanted critters put their feet up on your coffee table, call 865-224-6555. Let the Tennessee fans at Alpha Wildlife evict those unwanted tenants and set your home up with a winning defense to keep that wildlife where it belongs. That's Alpha Wildlife at 865-224-6555. They have locations in Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and in parts of South Carolina. Check them out online at alphawildlife.com.
What's up, fellas? It's Swain. When it comes to health, there are numbers every man needs to know, including your testosterone number. I recommend going to Low T Center. They make it quick and easy to get your levels checked, and it's only $25. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll know your results in 25 minutes. Low testosterone levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, can cause lack of motivation and drive. It can raise your cholesterol, cause weight gain, and loss of muscle mass. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. Dead End Barbecue has you covered when you need the food to be on point for your next event. Go to deadendbbq.com to learn more or call 865-414-9417. Dead End Barbecue, the catering search is over.
Hey there, Swain Event crew. Just like fall sports, the Knoxville area real estate market is strong and growing stronger. We're an everything region. When you get the big orange itch to buy, sell, or invest, call me, Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty at 865-257-7897 or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com. Go Vols!
Looking for a different way to enjoy the show?
Yes!
Then check out Swain Event TV on YouTube.
Swain Event and SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Your catering go-to this weekend if you are watching the game at home. Let Dead End cater. Big time menu. Whatever you want, whatever you need, Dead End got you covered. That's deadendbbq.com. Heard that Joe Tess gave Dead End Barbecue a shutout during the broadcast. So that was awesome to hear. That's one of Joe Tess's favorite places when he comes to Knoxville. Speaking of Knoxville, we know the importance of mental health, people. We've heard and we've seen the narrative change, the stigma change regarding mental health. It's as important as physical health, if not more important. We've seen players break out and have great performances from years or games where they didn't. Well, sometimes that can be attributed to getting their mentals right. We've heard Marshawn Lynch refer to that. We've heard athletes talk about the importance of mental health. Well, Mind Body Wellness in Knoxville can help you design a plan for your mental wellness. The website, mindbodyknoxville.com. Go to the website, schedule a mental wellness assessment. Take that first step, folks. It's okay not to be okay. It's not easy out here. Life is hard. Life is a challenge. And sometimes you just need to lift that weight, talk to someone. Therapy has done wonders for me, my family. It's important to talk it out. So mindbodyknoxville.com is the website. Go there, schedule a mental wellness assessment. Take that first step, folks. All right, Ben, you, sir, want my take on the wide receivers and on the limited amount of deep shots. I was during the broadcast, Bob Kesselin and Pat Ryan, Brent Hubbs, during the break, I was talking to the guys. I was like, hey, man, I think we're going to see some deep shot here. A lot of the throws have been kind of below the sticks. We haven't really pushed the safeties back. And then on that next possession, we saw the deep shot to Ramel Keaton. I thought the wide receivers could have been better. Josh Heupel referred to it as being, what do you say, out of rhythm, out of sync. Mentioned the skill position players. And understand the skill position players is everyone except for the linemen, okay? You have big skill, which would be considered like tight ends and quarterbacks. Then you have other skill, which would be your running backs and your wide receivers. When we used to run 110s, it was three groups. It was linemen, big skill, skill. And all three groups had different times they had to reach on the 110 test or whenever you ran 110. So Heupel could admit, yeah, man, receivers, quarterback, running backs, everyone's included there with the rhythm and how much the offense is in sync. But, yeah, it was a little off for sure. It was off. First game of the season. Understandable. I thought we would see more deep shots, Ben. For real. I mean, let's go ahead and put these dudes to sleep. Because you can run goes. That's not anything you got to keep in the back of the playbook because you're trying to save it for Florida game or Alabama game. Go route to go route. Like, that's not a secret. So I'm surprised we didn't see more of that. I don't know the reason, but we didn't see a lot of deep shots. We just didn't. I wanted to see Dante Thornton more down the football field. That would have been nice to see. I wanted to see Squirrel White more down the football field. Like we saw him do that last season. but we didn't. You didn't need it because you still won 49 to 13. But yeah, the receivers, man, they need to be better. Ain't no doubt about that, Ben.
Buck Nasty asks a good question here on the text box. Do you think the receivers looked out of sync because they were held out a lot in fall camp?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely has something to do with it. But that's the trade-off that's worth it, though. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. Like if Tennessee loses a game because the receivers didn't play well, then that's when you go back to fall camp. You go, man, well, we missed this time that we could have built chemistry and been in sync. And because we didn't do it, it cost us a game. But Tennessee won 49-13.
Right.
So,
now,
yeah, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Now, in the future, if Tennessee has an opener like LSU, Florida State, like you've got a big boy right out of the gates, then maybe a different approach should be taken to fall camp.
Yeah, maybe it is, taken. Yeah, but it's hard to be in sync game one when you miss time during fall camp, especially 11-on-11, like live action. So, like, for those guys, for Ramel, that probably was the first time he was tackled all fall camp. For some of those guys, first time they was tackled. So, yeah, like, but the trade-off is 1,000% worth it.
Well, and you can speak to the fact of how different your conditioning is in game one to what it's going to be even this Saturday. Like, it's just different conditioning wise. You hear former football players talk about it all the time, just how, yes, obviously you're in great physical shape going into the season, but you start sucking wind in that first game more than any other game because that game shape is just different.
It's different, dude. You had cramps all over the field. You can't tell me that our football team's not in shape. You can't tell me that at all. Look at the last 2 years under Kirk Smith. Totally different than 2016 to 17. That
a lot of seasons.
Well, you had strength coach. You had that situation. My point is, you haven't had an influx of injuries that were unexplainable. You don't have that right now. You have guys in tip-top shape, and then you're playing a style offensively that requires you to be in better shape than a normal player on offense. And then defensively, you got to keep up with that offense. So, yeah, like, we're in shape, but we still had dudes cramping up. Why? Because it's different. Like, it was hot, and it was the first game. And there's practice shape from summer workouts where you're running with shorts and T-shirts or your little catapult tank top thingy. And there's a difference between that and fall camp where you got pads on and you're hitting. That's a different type of shape. You wake up super sore. And then there's game shape. And that's different because you have the adrenaline. You have energy that you don't use during practice that you may use in the games because there's an opponent across from you wearing a different jersey. So we had guys going out with cramps. So, yeah, like, as long as you're winning, again, you're going 1-0.
Right.
And we've talked about this before, how important it is to have correctable film. No turnovers on offense. No significant injuries. Penalties were held at a minimum. Nila Mafia says, hey, we won by 36 over a Power 5 team and only had 10 yards in penalties. Penalties were held at a minimum, and you won the game. So now you go back to the drawing board, and you fix the drops and the miscues and the missed tackles and the missed angles. Like you fix that stuff, and you want to be able to do that while still being 1-0 because everyone has to go and correct things from game one. It's just that Clemson, South Carolina, LSU, TCU, these teams have to do it being 0-1 to start the season. That's the only difference.
Yep. And that is quite the difference. But to go back to the Joe conversation real quick and put a bow on that, to turn the lack of deep shots into a positive because I would have liked to have seen more deep shots as well. I assume that was a one-off. Austin P, I expect to see more deep shots for sure because it's Austin P. But I would expect, even talking about going up against a Power 5 opponent, a conference opponent in Florida in 2 weeks, I would expect to see more deep shots in that game as well. But to turn it into a positive in terms of the lack of deep shots, I thought it was a great sign of things to come, and a really tip of the hat to Joe Milton that he wasn't trying to force things deep, because you go back to year one of Joe Milton and his first couple of starts, and it was trying to force the ball deep as much as possible. And yes, you have the arm strength to do that, but that's not true quarterback play. True quarterback play is what Joe did on Saturday against Virginia. He was taking what the defense gave him, and he was making it work. I mean, you pointed out the example early in the game of throwing to Dylan Sampson on the 4th and 5. Ideally, you don't want to throw behind the sticks on 4th and 5, but you trust D Samp out in the flat in a one-on-one situation more than you trust trying to fit it into a tight window with 3 Virginia players around the receiver. That was a heads-up, smart quarterback play, and he continued to do that throughout the game and taking what the defense gave him. That is typically a sign of a quarterback maturing in a major way and showing complete command of the offense and being able to operate the offense at a high level. So I thought that was a really encouraging sign that although he wasn't pushing the ball down the field as much as we anticipated, he was still taking what the defense gave him. And also, when the running backs are going to run for 287 yards, if the running game's going to do that, you don't have to push the ball down the field as much as maybe we've seen in the past.
Let's bring something up, too, that we haven't talked about, maybe some people have thought about, but we didn't mention it today. There was a rotation of offensive linemen during that game. Maybe that has something to do with deciding to take deep shots because you got new guys in there, and you don't know what you're going to get. That's why you got guys rotating to kind of see what you're going to get. Who can you trust as we are approaching SEC play in 2 weeks? I mean, we saw Ollie Lane start at center, and then we saw Dane Davis work at center. We saw different guys on the offensive line. And so maybe you wanted to keep it, I won't say vanilla, but you wanted to keep Joe clean and throws that doesn't require a lot of time, giving Virginia's defensive lineman enough time to get to Joe. I'm just spitballing here. It wasn't mentioned. It's something that I kind of thought about during the game. We haven't seen the amount of rotation with the offensive line in the first game since Josh Heupel's been here.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because obviously if Joe's dropping back to throw a deep ball, they've got to protect longer, and you're not putting them in that situation. It's an offensive line that's kind of playing musical chairs right now, and I don't really like how many guys that they're rotating. I understand it for the opener, but I think by the time the end of September rolls around, I think you got to get to your 5 guys for sure, and then maybe a 6th or 7th off the bench. Just by the way, the best offensive lines work is by cohesion and playing a ton of football together, and I don't know if you can accomplish that by rotating as many guys as they did on Saturday. But against Virginia, that's an opponent that you can afford to test some things out. And I think that's mostly what that was as they still try to figure out their top 5, top 6 guys, and they'll eventually settle on that top 5 and top 6 and roll with it. But I think that's a great point, something that I did not think about. Obviously, if Joe's dropping back to throw a deep ball, you got to protect him longer, and maybe you don't want to risk getting him hit, kind of like what I was talking about on the 4th and 1 earlier to Jabari Small. Instead of knowing that Joe's going to get piled on there in a short yardage situation, block it upright, hand it off to Jabari Small, and pick up the first down, and the offensive line just did not execute on that play.
Yeah, I mean, something to think about. That's all. Something to think about. 865-255-03. Man, the Beatty Chevrolet text box is rolling this morning. we have a lot to cover here on the text box. A lot of good stuff here. Beatty Chevrolet, their website, BeattyChevrolet.com. A big time sale going on in Beatty. All inventory marked down with their best price on the windshield. Get your biggest savings on the largest inventory in years, up to $10,000 off at BeattyChevrolet.com. Ben, this is what we're going to do, man. We're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going straight to the Beatty Chevrolet text box. There's a ton of messages on here that we're going to get to, comments, questions. Tennessee's going to be in a different uniform this weekend.
You're not allowed to comment on that, though.
Apparently.
You're not allowed to have an opinion on the Condrich Holloway throwback unis.
Mid-season form, ain't we? We in mid-season form. Wow. 865-255-03. Stay with us.
What's up, Swain Event family? It's great to be on board. This is Taylor Hawkins with Modern Woodman Fraternal Financial, and I have one question for you. When was the last time you have slowed down and evaluated your financial situation? Just like the Vols, a great game plan leads to victory. Let us help you achieve your financial goals with a custom-made game plan. No matter what stage of life you're in, protecting your family and hard-earned money is important. So let one of our local and trusted financial professionals secure your future by visiting one of our 10 branch offices across Tennessee, or give us a call locally at 865-312-5638. And remember, go Vols.
Registered representative and investment advisor, representative offering securities and advisory services through NWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodmen of America, member FINCRA, SIPC.
Hey there, Swain Event fam. If you're currently renting and just about priced out of your place, give me a call. Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty at 865-257-7897. You may be able to buy a home and have monthly payments less than your rent. And wouldn't you rather pay your own mortgage than someone else's? Hope to hear from you soon, and go Vols.
Here in Knoxville, we love it when a squirrel's in the checkerboards. But when there's a squirrel in our attic, that's all sides. When that happens, call Alpha Wildlife. They're Knoxville's veteran-owned and operated wildlife removal company. When unwanted critters put their feet up on your coffee table, call 865-224-6555. Let the Tennessee fans at Alpha Wildlife evict those unwanted tenants and set your home up with a winning defense to keep that wildlife where it belongs. That's Alpha Wildlife at 865-224-6555. They have locations in Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and in parts of South Carolina. Check them out online at alphawildlife.com.
We're here with Dr. Michael Carlson of Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine to discuss stem cell treatment and PRP. If you have orthopedic injuries, you should give them a call.
That's right, Jason. We specialize in regenerative non-surgical orthopedics. So we treat damaged tendons, ligaments, and joints by using ultrasound-guided injections with stem cells or PRP. And this form of treatment actually stimulates the body's own reparative process and allows for healing of the damaged tissue.
So, Doc, what makes your training different than others?
Well, Jason, I've been practicing in Knoxville for 26 years, and I'm certified in interventional regenerative orthopedic medicine through the American Academy of Orthopedic Medicine. At Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, I'm the one doing the procedure, and we're using your own bone marrow stem cells or PRP. So in other words, it comes from you and it goes back to you. So you know exactly what you're getting and know exactly the level of training involved.
Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, trsportsmedicine.com. East Tennessee's leader in PRP and stem cell therapy.
When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
The conversation doesn't stop when the show is over. Follow the Swain Event on Twitter and like the show on Facebook.
All right, let's get to the Beatty Chevrolet text box this morning. 865-255-03 is our number. Ben McKee, Go Balls 247. I'm Jason Swain. Low T Center Studio is where I am. All right, let's see here. Let's get on down here to some of the earlier messages. Raleigh Vol says, I was in Bull City last night watching Dabo's L. Man, yesterday, Josh and Swain, we were talking about Clemson Duke game. I said, watch out. Mike Elko's a damn good coach. Saw how Duke played last year, how they finished. They're well coached. You better watch out. I didn't think that Duke would win like that. I'll just say that. Whew. Clemson. No DJ Uyunglele. Got a new quarterback. Got a new offensive coordinator. Still offensive troubles. So the only constant there is Dabo. We've kind of seen this before here in Knoxville. We have changes, and the changes are not necessarily working. So, rough day in Clemson for sure for the Tigers. Clay,
go ahead. He better adjust to the new age of college football, or else he's gonna. It already seems like college football is leaving him behind. But if he doesn't adjust to this new age and this new world of college football, he's gonna be left even further behind.
You better get into that portal, man. Really inactive in the portal. Look at Florida State, who in the last 2 years probably top 5 team in the portal.
Yeah, look at Tennessee.
Easy. And look what Florida State is right now. Florida State's ready to contend for a national championship. Because now they're the best team in the ACC right now.
Without a doubt. I picked them to make the playoffs when I know last time you asked me, I hadn't really settled on a Final Four. But
yeah, come on home, Ben.
I had picked the Final Four, and Florida State was one of the teams that I picked to make the playoffs. Yeah. They looked awesome. But, heck, just look at Tennessee. Tennessee has passed Clemson. Tennessee's passed Clemson right now in terms of program who is in a better spot. Tennessee is in a better spot right now than Clemson, and they may have a lengthy lead over Clemson. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth, and part of it's been because of the portal. Like, you can't ignore the portal. And like, I don't necessarily disagree with Dabo's thinking behind it in terms of not wanting to mess up the chemistry of your team and the culture or whatnot. But it's your job as a head coach to not bring in somebody that's not going to fit within your culture. That's one of the things Heupel has done best with when it comes to the portal, is identifying guys who will fit in to what they're doing and not bringing in somebody who's going to mess things up. And that's where it becomes your responsibility as a CEO and a head coach to make sure you're bringing in the right people. You can still, you can have both.
Clay, on the text box, do we teach our DBs to not turn their head? Feel like we are flirting with a pass interference call every throw. We teach our DBs to turn their head. Several times on Saturday, we did not. Kamal had made some good plays, just playing the receiver's hands, showing some good timing. There's a time to turn your head. There's a time to not do it. There were a few times when we didn't turn our head, and I reacted like, turn your head. Let's turn. Come on, turn around. Pick it off. So I would like to see us do more of that, but, hey, man, I thought Kamal had did a good job of playing the receiver's hands. And then we'll see how that works out, later when we play better teams.
I think they're mostly taught to rip the ball out, watch the hands, and then rip through the hands more than they are taught to turn their heads. That is it feels like it's a newer age technique of playing the hands, playing the hips, keeping your eyes on those, and then ripping through. Feels like back in the day it was all turn your head, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but seems like we've gotten away from just always turning your head. You want to see the hands, see the ball, rip through the ball.
I know I had a conversation with Martinez years ago, and I asked him what kind of DB was he looking for, because that was a time when, like, I still had some connections across the country with players and maybe being able to get Tennessee in on some of the recruits. And so I was asking him what type of DB he wanted, so I can help him try to get some players here at Tennessee. And I remember the conversation. He wants a guy that played multiple positions in high school, that played offense, that they have really good ball skills, that when the ball's in the air, they feel like it's theirs as much as the wide receivers. And it's hard for me to believe that he has that philosophy, but he's not telling the guys to turn their head around and make a play on the ball, because you can't catch the ball. You can't make a play on the ball if you can't see the ball. So I just want to continue to kind of watch our DBs and those 50-50 ball situations and those sideline throws to see if we're doing a better job of turning our heads. I do know that Danico Slaughter in Kentucky game last year, his pick up the sideline, that was textbook. And Danico Slaughter played corner for the first time last year. So you don't do that unless you're taught that, especially if you haven't played the position. So maybe it's not being harped on enough. Maybe it's coached, but the guys are not doing it. I don't know. I don't have that answer. Will Voss says, I was watching Joe's eyes and feet. Got to say he's improved greatly in reading through his progressions, was poised and in control. Neil Mafia says, Swain, word is John Campbell is past Cookville now, still shoving that fool out the club. You don't get treated that way unless you said something, unless you was running your mouth, unless you did something after the play on a different play, and they have circled your number in their head. You don't get treated that way. And John Campbell took him for a ride. Like, Blindside movie, we do know a lot of it is fake. A lot of it is made up. That one scene where Michael Orr takes the kid, I mean, he drives him 100 yards. Like, that never happens in a game. It almost was 100 yards on Saturday. It was at least 15 yards for John Campbell. And I'm surprised no penalty flag was thrown. I loved it. And I didn't really see it live. It took me to go and look at Cole Kublik's tweet and watch it over and over and over. Man, that was fun. Vaughn Birmingham says, unfortunately, Joe will be compared to what Hendon did in this offense. And even though Joe has more athletic ability, Hooker was just smooth. I think Joe will be fine. He has to make good decisions in these upcoming big games and not hurt the offense with mistakes. Yep, and he hasn't done that yet. Zero interceptions since he's been here at Tennessee. If he continues to do that, he'll be just fine. And Hendon was smooth. There were some times when Hendon would run. It looked a little clunky sometimes, but he was a great runner. Did a good job escaping the pocket. Had a signature move, the spin cycle, the spin move. I think it's normal to always compare two guys that one's replacing the other or one's coming after the other. That's pretty natural. But Nasty and Brian Hunsucker asked about receivers being out of sync because of fall camp. We already answered that. Being incredulous of Joe, given his history, being benched twice is fair. But it's asinine to hold that over the what have you done for me lately, which was his play was very well against UVA. I hope he can string together some good starts and eliminate the unease once and for all. He didn't look uneasy to me on Saturday. He looked very at ease and calm.
Yes, he did. And I actually wanted to bring up that message there on the text box because I do think it is a fair point by Jason, who spells his name correctly in Indiana, Jason. Spells his name correctly, unlike the other Jason that I know. I do think it's fair to be sitting on the edge of your seat and waiting for Joe Milton to go prove it consistently. Like, that is something he has to go do. to prove that he is a different quarterback consistently, especially in some big are not good.